I often receive all kinds of questions every day, many of which are, why have I studied Buddhism for many years, but my life is still very bad? You have recited so many scriptures, but you haven't changed the reality. Although it is necessary to be able to contact Buddhism, it is already difficult and valuable to believe in cause and effect, not to kill and not to create evil karma. Imagine that some people in the world are usually kind-hearted and willing to help others, but often kill animals, hunt and fish. They think that these are not unreasonable things and can be done. When the reward comes, they look up to the sky and sigh, why is there no good reward for good people? It is not easy to be exposed to Buddhism, convert to practice, and have full faith and right knowledge. There are not many things that can always be strong in confidence and practice well. There are few things that can be achieved. In the past, a friend told me that the world often said that the children and grandchildren can be inscribed on the gold list as the smoke of the ancestral grave. If the evidence is clear, it is not only the blessing of the smoke from the ancestral grave. Someone asked, hello, why the more I recite the scriptures and hold the spell, the more unlucky I am. Not to mention the lack of business, there is a lot of waste. It has been 4 or 5 years since I came into contact with Buddhism, and there is really no good improvement. I have been reading the Descendants Sutra for almost 30 days, one every day. Later, I added the Bodhisattva holy name, and a few days ago, I added the Jianlu Dai mantra. It's getting worse and worse, and I'm in a bad mood. It makes me really have no confidence in Buddhism now. King Lianqi, when I saw this question, I was actually very moved. At present, although more and more people are learning Buddhism, many of them are unguided, lack of righteous opinions, and are in the blind practice stage. I have been exposed to Buddhism for 4 or 5 years, but there is no good improvement. This is not a matter of Buddhism, but a matter of how people practice. Some people are getting richer and richer in reciting the Descendants Sutra, and some people don't improve much after reciting. Why? You must find the reason from yourself. From the above lady's questions, it can be seen that she has not deeply understood the cause and effect and the order of the law. If you recite the sutra, must you make a big change and everything goes well? The karma created in the past, if they were not achieved overnight, can they be quickly transformed by scattered minds and injustice? There are 2 kinds of faith in Buddhism. One is based on external sensing and gains and losses. First, it is based on the inner precepts and wisdom. And the practice of samadhi, which belongs to superior confidence. Master Xiyun has experienced countless disasters in his life. Do you think he will retreat? His faith in Buddhism does not lie in the gains and losses of the outside world, but in the internal evidence. What does it have to do with seeking Taoism if there are honors and disgraces in the outside world? Just like holding the precepts, some people can keep the precepts, which is your own problem. You can complain about the inability of Buddhism. Confucianism pays great attention to self-reflection and prudence. If you can do it, you should ask for yourself. If there is no big change in learning Buddhism, the problem is yourself, and you should reflect on yourself. Another person asked, I studied Buddhism for a year, majoring in the Descendants Sutra and Lingyan mantra, and my homework is quite refined. In the past year or 2, the business has lost a lot of money and owes a lot of foreign debt. I have also been studying homework to return to the wronged creditors, but I have persisted for a year and a half, and I am exhausted. Recently, I saw my brother's blog, and I just started to recite the long and short spells of the God of the Earth. Since the reciting of the solemn spell, the karma began to appear in front of it. There is one more thing I want to ask my brother. My husband's grandfather's grave is cracked. I asked my mother-in-law several times this year. My mother-in-law didn't take it seriously and just told us recently. I went to the cemetery later to have a look, and it was really cracked. My husband is my grandfather's only grandson. Does the restlessness of the ancestors affect the descendants of the present? I have been reading the Descendants Sutra for the past 2 days to return to my grandfather who yearned for life. I will go to repair the grave at home during the Qingming festival next year. King Lianqi, how did you practice the Descendants Sutra and Lingyan mantra? Recite with precepts. Read while making karma. How about the heart? Is there any support? What about karma and fate? How much do you recite every day? Is it intermittent? Where do you recite it? These are the keys to the effect, so the problem lies in yourself, and don't climb out. Ancestor restlessness, of course, has an impact on future generations, and it has a far-reaching impact. In the real case, last time a scholar met his brother Miaoxin, he had a neckache for 15 years. Although he had studied Buddhism for many years, did all kinds of merits, and also recited a lot of sutras, he could not recover. As soon as Brother Miaoxin watched, he found that the ancestral grave was pressed by things, so he taught him to burn the tombstone to the ancestors. And with the blessing of the token of his right hand, with the great compassion spell, the priestess' neck improved greatly, and the results were immediate. Why can't the problem of so many years be solved even after many laws? Brother Miaoxin's general answer is, there is no right medicine for the symptoms. The ancestral grave was crushed, and the descendants' necks hurt for 15 years. In this, there must be the mystery of operation in the Dharma world. My cousin once suffered from a serious skin disease in her neck and skin ulcers, and it was ineffective to seek medical treatment. The local witch said that the ancestral grave was flooded. Later, she went to the cemetery to check. Sure enough, it was flooded, and there was a small black snake in the tomb. After treatment, my cousin's skin disease recovered without medicine. Why does the quality of the ancestral grave affect the health of children and grandchildren? There is an explanation that the ancestors reminded themselves of a bad life by making their children and grandchildren feel uneasy. I think in addition to this reason, there should also be ancestral graves and ancestors, and there is some kind of correspondence with future generations. In this regard, there may be professional correspondence in Ishua, such as in the southeast and northwest of the ancestral grave. If there is a problem, the grave is cracked, or there is a path, telephone pole, etc. It can be inferred which offspring has an accident, what has happened, car accident or terminal illness, fire. With the 5 elements of yin and yang, it is clear at a glance. These are what I knew when I read Ishua before. The ancestors' ease of learning is not simple. Although these are not guided to the way of dissipation, they have their own independent systems in the practicality of the world's law. In the cases observed by Brother Miaoxin, some people have shabby careers, no marriages, or even terminal diseases, which are related to the destruction of ancestral graves or other problems. For example, last year, there was a person who held the Great Compassion spell and the Lingyan mantra for 10 years, but his economy was extremely poor and his body was weak. Brother Miaoxin saw that the ancestral grave had been soaked, and the second was cursed. He didn't believe it. How could his fortune have something to do with the bad ancestral grave? At the same time, he said that he had been in contact with the Qigong master, but he had a strict spell for many years. Even if he was cursed, he should be free. I saw that he was so patient that I couldn't listen to him, so I could only wish him to tear. This is also a question of the right opinion. After learning strict spells for many years, can you break the evil art? This is an improper idea of some people. It is not easy to think that holding the curse of anger can defeat demons. The magic power of holding spells is hierarchical, involving precepts, heart development, rituals, corresponding know-how and other factors. And the induction, verification and knowledge are all different. There are still 3 products in the world, upper, middle and lower, and there are also 3 products in the world. Some people were possessed by powerful non-humans, reciting the solemn mantra every day, and it took several years to completely solve it. In the message above, the female priest recited the solemn mantra, and the grandfather told his mother-in-law in a dream, saying that the ancestral grave was cracked. When I checked it in reality, I found that it was really so. This is the first to ask the future for help. In the past, I once wrote an article when a female resident recited the Dizang Sutra. An old man with a white beard appeared and asked to repair the ancestral grave, a female monk who practiced the Dizang method. When she recited the Dizang Sutra at the beginning of this year, suddenly saw an old man with a white beard, claiming to be the ancestor of her family. He was born in Xiafeng, his ancestral home was Baoding, Hebei province, and his name was X. Finally, he repeatedly said that her house was flooded and wanted her find a way to solve it. The female resident talked about this matter to a Buddhist friend in Guangzhou. The Buddhist friend in Guangzhou happened to ask Brother Miaoxin to solve the ancestral grave last year, and she took this opportunity to find Brother Miaoxin. The female resident is also in Guangxi, so she specially returned to her hometown. I learned about this ancestor from the elders. Many generations have passed during the Xianfeng period. It's amazing that he himself can show up and tell posterity that he was not reincarnated. The following is the text message she sent to Brother Miaoxin, Amitabha Buddha. Mr. John Brother Miaoxin, my name is Mo. Last year, I worked as a guardian in Jinshan Temple in the ancient city of Liqui. I met Master Chiron and a small group of fellow guardians. Today, I called Xiaochuan and told her about the sense that I recited the Dizang Sutra around January this year. I felt an old man came to me and told me that our ancestral grave was in water, and I kept saying that the ancestral grave was in water. At that time, Xiaochuan listened to me and talked about it. I called you through the introduction of Master Chiron, and you helped her family handle the ancestral grave very successfully. So I sent a WeChat message to Master Chiron. Master told me your phone number and asked me to make an appointment with you. I can call you when you are free. Please be kind to guide us. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhang. About Buddha. King Lianqi, Confucianism pays attention to caution and pursuit in the end. Ancestors and parents are like the roots of big trees, and descendants are like branches, leaves, flowers and fruits. Only when the roots are deep can they be firm, and only when the source is far can it be long. Therefore, if the ancestors accumulate virtues, future generations often enjoy fame and fortune, prosperity and nobility. If you are interested, you can investigate your family history. The virtues and good deeds of your ancestors, and whether they are doing well now, will have a profound impact on future generations. The ancients often said that too many people were killed, and their descendants were extinct for generations. The ancestors were prostitutes, and the descendants were in love. Female resident once came to me. Her grandfather was a soldier who resisted the United States and helped North Korea, but her father and several brothers were bumpy, and even her father as children were disabled. Dying, crazy, and very tragic. Brother Miaoxin said that this was the result of too many ghosts coming to collect debts. Of course, we pay tribute to the soldiers, but this situation of debt collection is real, which is very terrible. Why will the ancestors do great good deeds and the descendants prosper? From the perspective of the origin of the world, the ancestors are like the roots of the tree, and those within virtues, the foundation is very strong and solid. So the descendants are fruitful. From the perspective of cause and effect, ancestors are good people with virtue, and they will also summon good sentient beings to be reincarnated as their own descendants. The ancients said, things gather by kind, and people are divided into groups. If we can be born in a good family, it must be related to our own welfare. In the same way, as a parent, having a good child is also due to one's own blessing. Everything is inseparable from cause and effect, so no matter what the situation is, Don Qi complain. Don Qi complain. Wang Sikong was born as Wang Jianlin's son. He must have accumulated great blessings in his previous life, otherwise he would not have been reincarnated into the richest family. To enjoy the benefits of the hard work of one's predecessors, discussion on the core factors affecting fate for many people who have practiced a lot of scriptures. The reality is still relatively wasteful. There is no change in fortune, and even some credit cards can be paid, and the child's tuition fee is not settled. I often give gradual advice. If you study Buddhism for a long time, making a living will become a problem. Even as some great virtues say, learning Buddhism for a long time will be marginalized in the world, which is a big problem. Don Qi become a Buddha soil when learning Buddhism. There is no need. First, solve the real problem. I think it is very important to be able to settle down, have a relatively smooth work and family, respect parents, and take good care of wife and children. In the past, I saw a great virtue point out that some people learned Buddhism, learned to learn, and was full of habits and full of Buddhist words. But they were marginalized in the world, and their survival became a problem, and it was difficult to protect themselves. What else do they talk about the benefit of bodhicitta to all sentient beings? This is caused by problems with the practice method and gradualness. Therefore, if you want to transship and make people's lives more smooth and auspicious, please pay attention to the following I have listed. Ancestors, ancestral graves. Art, killing and infant spirit. Sun, precepts and behaving a person. Si, the order of revision. B, the support of the earth god. Liu, the upper supply and the lower application. Second, I often hear from many mothers who say that their children are autistic, suffer from strange diseases, depression, suicidal tendencies or extreme rebellion. What should I do? I often ask her if she has had a miscarriage, and many of the answers are that she has had an abortion. From the perspective of psychology, Bert Hellinger, the founder of the psychology of the German family system arrangement, believes that if a member of the family and family system unexpectedly withdraws, the conscience of the system will choose the living person to replace the deceased to remind the family members of its existence to maintain the balance of the system. So parents who have experienced abortion, some children are extremely rebellious, and even depressed and want to commit suicide. What is this? It is the baby spirit who takes revenge on his parents and resents the misfortune of the living children. In an article I posted last time, it was mentioned that a student of Sun Yat-sen University wanted to commit suicide many times. Once he cut his pulse in the toilet and committed suicide. There was a white world in front of him. Fortunately, he recited Guanyin and suddenly had the will to survive. Later, it was learned through the local psychic that it turned out to be the revenge of the mother and baby. After the excess, the tendency to commit suicide also disappeared. Heilinger found that some families whose ancestors died in car accidents, were killed and committed suicide often had descendants repeating similar fates and also had similar symptoms. For the problem of Yingling, Heiling's method is to let the parents admit the existence of the child in their hearts, sincerely apologize to him, and give the parents the care they deserve. It's that simple. Many real-life couples quarrel, children's rebellion, and even work obstacles will be solved. Brother Miaoxin has also talked about the problem of transcending the infant spirit before. Some people may recite a lot of sutras and do not go beyond the infant spirit, but sincere repentance and apology, the infant spirit may forgive and leave. Care about your heart, not just recite. For the question of Yingling, please refer to Brother Miaoxin's article. It is recommended that you set up a place at home. Firstly, give your child a name. And secondly, burn the house where the child lies. Sometimes, if you dream of non-human in your dream, your ancestors will come to you. If it is a frequent dream, you can return to them when you can do merit. The animals you killed when you were a child can print pictures and burn them by reciting. There is no need to find another magic person to observe these. Third, the precepts, try to keep the precepts. And there is a method, that is, on important days of every month, such as the 10th fasting day, the 8th day of the first lunar month, the 15th day and other days, if you can hold the 8th one fasting at home, practice the law and hold the spell well. The merit and virtue will grow rapidly, and it will be easy to fulfill your wishes. Secondly, in the usual way of filial piety and living in the world, try not to harm morality, even if you are not a very good person, be a decent person with better character. In this way, the protection of the law likes to help each other. And if when you practice the Dharma, you complain that the Buddha and Bodhisattva are not good at any time, or complain about this, complain about that, and even have patience, self-righteousness, light Dharma and slow teaching, will Long Tian Hu Fa come to help you guess. Fourth, the revision of the law has been mentioned a lot in my previous articles. The core trick is to first practice the Dharma of Buddha and Bodhisattva, and then practice the Dharma of protecting the heavens, that is, the Dharma. Or the method of first interest, the method of increasing, the method of interest, the method of cherishing. First, if you practice the earth-hiding method to resolve all kinds of wrongful relatives and creditors, and then cultivate the law to increase the law to ask for wishes, the spiritual will appear quickly. Fifth, the support of the earth god. Cultivate the magic method of the earth, and naturally gain the support of her immeasurably ghosts and gods. The reason why so many heavenly people emphasize obtaining the blessing of the earth gods is that the earth gods live on the earth and are very close to human beings. Secondly, we read the Jizang Sutra, the Jizang Bodhisattva and the Ghost King Bodhisattva, and send the local land gods to guard all sentient beings without disasters. Evil things do not start, and even abundant food and clothing. Sixth, it is often said to offer the 3 treasures and give to all sentient beings. I often do it without interruption to accumulate blessings and merits. Many seniors know this, so we one key talk about it in detail. Next, I will list the experience of studying Buddhism that a senior brother gave me and talked about the problem of ancestral graves. Male selection, my own experience of learning Buddhism. I was born in an ordinary working-aged family, and my family has no religious beliefs. My parents are very hardworking. I came into contact with Buddhism after graduating from college. At first, I mainly read relevant knowledge and cause and effect stories on the internet. Later, I accidentally saw Brother Duan's blog in Huxenting, which immediately attracted me. Then Brother Duan's blog became my must-read blog every day. From then on, I began to take out one from my salary every month. Divide the money to release, print scriptures, donate, and then have time to recite the scriptures every day, not fixed. I don't feel that there is much change, and I'm not in a hurry. I'll take my time. Later, after getting married and pregnant, because of the pregnancy test, there was a big problem with my platelets. The number of platelets on each blood examination report was particularly low, and the minimum could be 15 or 13 while the item for normal people is between 100 and 300. The doctor said that it was very dangerous for me to give birth in this case, especially prone to heavy bleeding, and it was also very dangerous to have a child. It was better not to have a child. At that time, I was already 4 or 5 months pregnant, and I still wanted to give birth to the child before talking about treatment. My mother is also worried about me and has been living with me and taking care of me. Later, I thought that after reading so many life-saving stories of Buddhism on the internet, can I try it myself? So when I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant, I read the Vajradhara Sutra every day. I was ashamed that it was much worse than many advanced seniors. Because at that time I did not have a fixed homework every day, but only memorized the Heart Sutra. And then returned to myself to be able to give birth smoothly. In this way, 3 weeks before my due date, I went for a routine obstetric examination and suddenly found that the fetal heart could not be monitored. Then my doctor decided to start preparing for the operation immediately on the same day. At that time, I wanted to wait for 2 days, because the child's father was also out of work and did not come back. But the doctor said that if I didn't have surgery, I and the child would have life was in danger, so he was directly hospitalized. I scared my mother at that time, but instead of being particularly afraid, I just felt that I had something to prepare for, and I was a little hasty and anxious. That evening, I had a cesarean section. Before the operation, I meditated on the holy name of Guanyin Bodhisattva. Later, I fell asleep after taking the anesthetic. When I woke up again, I was in the ICU of the hospital. Later, I knew that the operation was smooth and the child was safe. Thank you, Bodhisattva. After the child was born, because my mother has been helping me take care of the child, because the child is not easy to take care of. Coupled with the hard work every day, it caused her original back disease. She had a lumbar fracture at work before and was not treated well, resulting in old compression fractures, plus intervertebral disc bulging and bone spurs. For a period of time, I lay in bed and couldn't get up. At first, I found 2 nannies, but they were not very satisfied. I had to invite the baby nurse I knew before to see the child for a while, because the cost was too high, so I didn't ask for it later. Fortunately, at that time, my work was relatively free. I could go to work late and go home early as appropriate, and I would have been there for a while. During my mother's back illness, I tried release, printing scriptures, giving, reciting sutras, reciting Buddha's name, fortune-telling, etc. And also asked my mother to recite the Buddha's name by herself, but the effect was not obvious. Once I saw King Lianqi's blog post and Brother Duan's blog. Xuanting found Brother King Lianqi's blog, and then learned about Brother Miaoxin. Naturally, he left a message on Brother Miaoxin's blog, asking him to take time to help my mother see how to recover from her waist disease as soon as possible. Thank you, Brother Miaoxin, replied to me quickly, saying that it was caused by the collapse of the ancestral grave. Then I went home and told my parents that they couldn't think of the problem with the grave of their ancestors. They called their relatives in their hometown, but they didn't ask why. This directly made me very worried, so I left a message on Brother King Lianqi's WeChat to ask what to do. And also left a message on Brother Miaoxin's blog to ask, but this time he didn't reply. I think he must be too busy to take care of it. Later, I heard from my mother that I called my uncle. Maybe my grandmother's grave had collapsed. My uncle was about to move the grave. The original cemetery was requisitioned by the government, and all the graves were moved to the cemetery. So he did not repair it in time, but just planted trees next to it. Is this why my mother's back disease is caused? We were not sure, and my uncle said that grandma's grave had long been moved to the cemetery, and it was impossible to collapse. But I don't think I can be sure anyway. It's better to treat a dead horse as a living horse, doctor. Try it first. If it doesn't work, I'm thinking of other ways. Therefore, I printed the tombstone map and plaque according to the method introduced in the Brother King Lianqi's blog, and burned them for Grandma and Grandpa just in time to deliver the cold clothes, plus some paper money and paper clothes. It's amazing to say that a few days after sending the cold clothes, my mother was able to get out of bed quickly. Although her waist still hurts, she didn't get up in bed. Originally, my mother was still a little suspicious, so I had to believe it. Thank you, Brother Miaoxin. Thank you, Brother King Lianqi. Let us talk about me again. I delayed a very important exam because of giving birth to a child. After taking maternity leave to work, I was already a little busy because I managed the accounts of 2 or 3 projects alone. In addition, my mother was bedridden with a back illness and no one took care of the child, which was under great pressure during that time. During this period, I have not stopped the monthly almsgiving and release, and the daily chanting homework was also guaranteed as much as possible. Later, I added the quasi-picking spell and the medicine master's sutra every day. I'm still ashamed. Many times I still can't finish it on time. Sometimes I think about other things while chanting, and I finish it after thinking about it. Anyway, it's completely out of shape. Under such circumstances, I still signed up for the 2016 exam, because this is the only one missing, and I can get the certificate after passing the exam. To be honest, my review this year is not as careful as in the previous exams. Many times I am disturbed by other things. Only when I go to work and my family and children fall asleep at night can I read a book and do questions for a while. In short, I am very uncertain. In this way, after the exam in August, my mother asked how she did in the exam. Although I said that she was relieved, I was still beating the drum in my heart. Just when the results were announced a few days ago, I was still not confident in checking the results and was afraid that I would fail the exam. Unexpectedly, after clicking on the inquiry page and entering my information, I actually passed. Although the score was not as high as 60 points, I really passed. I was so excited that I didn't know how to get better. Even my sloppy review and recitation homework were reluctant. The Bodhisattva was still reluctant to give up and has been helping me through one difficult time after another. I am so grateful. I also advise other seniors and friends not to learn from me. Be sure to review well and do your daily homework seriously, otherwise I will feel really uneasy. Now my child is more than 2 years old, and it's getting easier to take care of. It's strange to say that after having a child, my income has not decreased, but also increased. Now that I have passed this exam, it is estimated that the salary will increase in the future. I also advise all mothers with children not to have an abortion, even if it is difficult. Children are a gift from heaven and will accompany us on a warm road. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas know your difficulties. If you sincerely pray and cooperate with chanting, reciting, offering and giving, the Buddha and Bodhisattva will help you arrange everything. I didn't listen to the doctor's words at the beginning. Now I'm in good health and the baby is also very healthy. I've always thought about it. If the child had been abetted at the beginning, I don't know what the situation would be now. It's so happy and lucky to meet Buddhism in this life. Although I haven't met there is no special induction, no strange dream, but many difficulties in reality have come step by step. I sent this the biggest induction. I hope these experiences can bring more confidence to everyone, practice well, get out of reincarnation as soon as possible, and return to the Pure Land. As for the reason for burning the Tombstone map, it is a kind of origin map. We recite the sutra in front of the picture and then burn it. In the Dharma world, another world, it will be presented as a physical object. Moreover, the relocation of ancestral graves is a matter of so caution. Some people will hire Mr. Feng Shui, but the level of Feng Shui masters is high and low, and there are not many masters. Some seniors, after finding someone to move the grave at home, not only did they not solve the real problem, but also caused continuous disasters. This is the most important thing. If it is not handled well, the gains are not worth the losses. The second is the cost problem. Should cost a lot to ask someone to solve it. And burning the origin diagram can solve these problems. However, if the ancestral grave is broken or water enters, etc. If there are conditions and ability to repair it, try to repair it. If it can't be solved, just use the origin diagram, which is still effective. The right stele, the first large stele on the right side of the Tombstone origin map. The small letter on the right side of the stele says the specific address of the ancestral grave. And the big letter in the middle says XS ancestors. This includes all the ancestors of all generations. Write the name of the person who erected the monument in small letters on the left so and a certain month of a certain year. Middle monument, the second monument on the right is also this template, but the big letter in the middle is changed to the name of the grandparents who passed away directly. If you know the names of grandparents, try to write them down. If one party is alive, only write about the past. Left stele, the third stele is an analogy. And the big character in the middle is changed to the name of the parents who passed away if the elders are all alive. Only the ancestors and clans will be kept. Brother Miaoxin, the so-called table method is similar to the anthropomorphic technique in literary works. You don't need to go to the cemetery to move the earth. Search for a landscape map on Baidu that is similar to the geographical appearance of the ancestral grave, no characters, and then search for a tombstone map, write the address. Tomb, the person who erected the monument and the time if you have high computer skills. You can place the stele on the landscape map and write directly on the tombstone. Print it out, the color picture is better, and then put the color image in the same position as the plaque, arrange it, recite the sutra, overdo it. And finally take out the color picture with the burning paper to burn it. Landscape map similar to the geographical landscape of the ancestral grave cannot have figures. The order of revision: prepare offerings, put the pictures and signs next to the dining table. It is okay to have a Buddhist hall on the side of the Buddhist hall. Put 3 glasses of purified water, a glass of wine, 3 lamps, 7 or 9 are fine, 3 incense sticks, fruits, pastries, dried fruits, and meals as you like. Then light the light and burn incense. Cultivation method: reciting classics can be Jizang Sutra, Vajradhara Sutra, and Pumenpan. It is suggested to add a strong divine heart spell here. After all, she is the god of the earth. To set up a tombstone for her ancestors, she naturally needs her protection. The following homework is an example. Please, I wholeheartedly invite Jizang Bodhisattva Mahasattva. I wholeheartedly invite Guanyin Bodhisattva Mahasattva, dedicated to the firm god of the earth Chenbai, disciple XXX. Today is the ancestors of the X family, grandfather XXX, grandmother XXX. It depends on the specific situation. Only tombstones, chanting sutras and holding spells. May all the ancestors who die in the Dharma world be peaceful and auspicious, and even be born in the Pure Land, and be freed. May the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the gods of the earth be merciful and protected. Recitation, Jizang Sutra Pumenthan Vajradhara Sutra Bauchi and Dharani Anardharni, or ordinary homework. Among them, the ground the Tibetan method and the firm earth divine method, for the grave, transcending the first death, have the blessing power of not sharing. Namo hides Bodhisattva 10,000 times firm goddess heart curse, Om Billy TV Svaha 3,000 times bright mantra, Om Amoga, Vairujyana, Mahamudra, Manabadma and Wala, Balavalaya, 108 times. 1,000 times heart meridian 7 times. When Brother Miaoxin and others set up the tombstone, they usually repair it for several hours. The specific situation depends on the individual. Be converted Tomei the ancestors of the X family, Grandpa Triple X. Convert to the Buddha, convert to the law, convert to the monk 3 times. Convert to the Buddha as two-legged respect, convert to the law, and convert to the monks. If you convert to the Buddha, you will not fall into hell. If you convert to the law, you will not fall into the hungry ghost. If you convert to the monk, you will not fall into the beast 3 times. If you convert to the Buddha, you will not fall into the law. If you will convert to the law, you will not fall into the monk 3 times. Finally, take out the cards and burn them together with the yellow sheet paper over the RMB. You can recite sutras while burning, such as the holy name of the earth, the heart spell of the earth and the sky, the heart sutra. At the same time, you can say your wishes while burning. Last time I went to see Brother Miaoxin alone, he and his whole family had back pain for many years. He didn't keep paying much attention to his father's death for many years. Brother Miaoxin took a look and said that there was something wrong with your father's tombstone. After he followed this method with doubt, he immediately saw the results. I called Brother Miaoxin the next day. I had to go to work. And there was a senior brother who burned this fate map to ask for a house for his ancestors, and he begged for it for half a year. Note, this method can be done many times, and the tombstone can also be changed to different background pictures. The key is who has a problem with the monument, and who affects the ancestral grave, and write in the name of whom. The yellow paper should be pressed in RMB. Even if nothing happens, you can burn tombstones for your ancestors. Because the way of expression in the void Dharma world is not as good as the reality. There is no risk. For example, in our world, we often change houses for our parents, which is the same principle. If there is a problem with the ancestral tombstone in reality, it needs to be solved. Brother Miaoxin said, ancestors, such as grandparents, have passed away, generally have to be buried together, otherwise the marriage of future generations is prone to problems. If you don't burn the origin of fate, you can also often do merit and return to your ancestors, which is of great benefit to future destiny. Postscript, in yesterday's article, there was an error in the recording of the heart spell of the King of Vishaman, which should be, Om Vaisravanaya Svaha Buzz Wasi Lavana Standard Svaha. May it be auspicious.